Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Christian Bale, they've all played the iconic role of Batman on the big screen. Now, Oscar and Golden Globe winning actor Ben Affleck joins the elite Bat Hero Club. Thank you very much. For the release of his new movie, it's called Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Here's a look.
What's your position on the Bat vigilante in Gotham?
Daily Planet. Wait, do I own this one? Or is that the other guy?
Civil liberties are being trampled on in your city. Good people living in fear.
Don't believe everything you hear, son.
I've seen it, Mr. Wayne. He thinks he's above the law.
The Daily Planet criticizing those who think they're above the law is a little hypocritical, wouldn't you say? Considering every time your hero saves a cat out of a tree, you read a puff piece editorial about an alien who, if he wanted to, could burn the whole place down.
Yeah, there you go. Ben Affleck, welcome back to the table. We are so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor. Nice to be here.
Is it impolite to ask you to remove your shirt and flex? During
Not at all. I like to start a conversation.
No, we saw the movie. What I think is so great. I do consider this justice because when you were announced that you were going to do Batman, I remember this tweet that said, "No."
There were some people who showed some unhappiness.
Not everybody was on board.
But it was polite.
So what did that do to you? Did that make you say, I'm going to drop the microphone, or did you say, I know I got this, so I'm not even paying attention?
You know, what we did with the role was a little bit, as you kind of see, he's a little older, he's a little more broken. So I knew it was doing kind of a curveball and something the fans wouldn't necessarily expect or be able to anticipate. But it definitely gave me more of a resolve to get the character right, to work hard, to do justice to all those great actors that you had up there on the screen who'd done it before, and to do the best job I could.
Forbes said Ben Affleck is pitch perfect as Bruce Wayne in Batman. Not bad.
Yeah, no, the critics have been very kind to me about it, which is great, although this is definitely the kind of movie that's not looking to do the Film Critic Circle Award.
Yeah.
The audience, we want the audience award.
I was surprised they didn't like each other at parts in the movie. You know, there's a lot of scenes, and I'm not going to give it away, but there's scenes where they're like beating the crap out of each other.
It's based on a Frank Miller comic that was from actually my childhood, and where they come to symbolize two different sort of points of view at looking at the same issue, and it's really about fear. You know, this character in Superman shows up and he's all powerful, and it's what does it mean when we feel helpless, and then how do we react when we get fearful, which I think is resonant all too tragically to today's world, which has become so scary and so unpredictable. And what does fear do to us when we when we get afraid?
And the political world seems to, or people look for some kind of hero to come in and sweep in.
I think there's that wish fulfillment. We would just love to have somebody who can show up and make us feel safe, and make us feel strong.
Now, this movie is called Batman v Superman. However, one of the largest applause lines in the movie since I saw it is when Wonder Woman appears.
Wonder Woman is the high point of the movie for me. My son is who's young, and he loves it that I'm Batman, and he loves it that this whole thing is so cool. But I have two daughters too, and I love that there's this spectacular female role model. And for my son to see a great, strong woman, and for my daughters to see that is really important too. One of the things I liked about this movie was that it's something that I could share with my kids and they could be into, and I think it's great that that's a strong presence in the movie.
I want to go back to Charlie's thing about a need for a superhero, because Starbucks says this: today, for just a moment, we want to pause and reflect, to go beyond the hatred and vitriol to see a different story of America. And you're working with Starbucks now. I love the message of this band.
Yeah, I think Starbucks
It resonates with you too.
Yeah, they do. They have great values, and I love their message. And I have an organization, a small organization that works in Congo, which is a place where 90% of they used to be very robust in terms of growing coffee. They're in the perfect place for it. They had a terrible war between 3 and 5 million people died, and their coffee sector was decimated. So one of the things that we've done is try to work with community-based organizations to work with local farmers to rebuild their capacity to grow coffee. And so far, we've tripled the income of 25,000 farmers. We have sold enough coffee to Starbucks now for 11 million cups of coffee.
But I mean, there's a point at which you'll stop and they'll be self-supportive. And they'll have
these
the
farmers are now now connected with Starbucks. They've made an agreement for 5 years to keep buying more coffee from them. The coffee growers that we've already worked with are on their own, and they're already doing it. So we're just moving on into other sectors.
So I want to switch to talk to about Jennifer for a second, because I like you both so very much, as you already know. What is your wish for her as she navigates the next chapter, and the wish for you as you navigate the next chapter?
I'm a giant fan of Jennifer's too. In fact, she's got a movie out, Miracles from Heaven, which you can still see, which is very good. It's really good. She's just a fabulous person. She's just a wonderful person. She's a great mother. She's a real talent. And what we're doing is, life doesn't always turn out exactly the way you want. We're doing our very best, and we're putting our kids first. And that's how we're focusing on our day-to-day lives. And we don't know what the future's going to hold, but when, each step that we take is one where we prioritize our children, and everything else comes second. And she's just so good at doing that, and set such a good example, and the lead that I follow. And she's somebody that I admire and respect and remain excellent friends with. And
she says the same about you. What were your feelings about the Vanity Fair article?
The Vanity Fair article, not in the least bit. The Vanity Fair article is her speaking her mind and being who she is, and that's somebody that I know and talk to every day. And so it was simply, her being who she is being somebody extraordinary, and being somebody articulate, and being somebody who I respect a great deal.
I think you could give some advice to the Democrats and the Republicans on how you really can get along and agree to disagree in a very tense situation. What's your take on the political climate?
God, the political climate. I mean, there's very little I find more depressing than the political climate these days. It's really, what I will say about it is that it's so disappointing. When you go around the world and you travel to places that don't have a functioning democracy, and there's still so many places like this where people are sacrificing and striving and struggling just to have freedom of speech, just to be able to vote. And you see what we seem to be squandering in this election year.
Will you and Matt ever act together on film?
We love to act in something together. We're just trying to get our schedules straight. I just had dinner with him actually in London. He's finishing up the Jason Bourne movie, which looks to be spectacular. That'll be out in July, I believe.
Do you ever feel in competition with him?
You know what? Ever since we were kids, we've auditioned for stuff together, and we've always gone out for the same parts. And I've always felt like, it's not a zero-sum game. There's room for everybody. If you're good and it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and there's enough parts. And if I don't get a part, I'd certainly rather Matt or my brother or another friend get it than somebody that I don't want to get, that I don't know.
Well, the coffee is delicious.
Thank you very much.
Continued success.
Head on out to Starbucks and your roasteries and flagship stores and get your Congolese coffee.
Cheering you on.
Yes, and we enjoyed the movie very much. We forgot to mention Charlie Rose has a huge cameo in the movie.
The star of the movie
I know,
right here.
I mean, how can you share the same big screen with Charlie Rose?
I wasn't in the scene with him. He would have blown me off the screen.
I mean,
thank goodness.
That's like,
he was flawless, I have to say. And we used him in the previews, in the trailers.
Yeah, I know.
We used him in the hook. He had that gravitas that you need to bring people in.
No, he did a good job.
Oh, God.
Well,
my parents in heaven would love you.
And as you know, Ben, he's our own superhero here at the table every morning.
I believe it.
Yes,
I believe it.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Ben.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Batman v Superman is in theaters now.
Yes. You should see what Charlie wears underneath his shirt.
It's getting hot in here.
Nora knows.